Hello, welcome to Armchair Sports Talk. I'm Sterling, and today we'll be talking about how I won $30,000 on DraftKings, the tier game. So I have my screen shared up here with you guys. I believe you can see everything. I just use a simple Excel spreadsheet. What I do is I put in tiers 1 through 8, and I go horizontally listing the players in the order they appear. Well, before I get into it, on our Facebook page is a picture of our winning lineup. My winning lineup from DraftKings. Tiers is the game where instead of doing a lineup with quarterback, running back, 3 wide receivers, tight end, a flex spot, and a defense, you just choose from the available players in tiers 1 through 8. DraftKings has made some modifications to this game since it came out, I believe, about a year ago. And I've been playing it off and on. Obviously, last year and this year, I've been doing this in addition to what I spend most of my time doing. But it's nice to have the two, the juxtaposition of the two, because it allows you to get some exposure on some other players you might not otherwise have due to pricing disparity. And that's my number one way of doing my lineups. So that balance came out and paid some nice dividends last week. So obviously, we're plus on the season. In addition to that, though, our lineups weren't too bad either. On FanDuel, we lost almost 50% of our week's investment, and on Yahoo, we actually tripled up. So what we put in, we won 3 times over. So aside from DraftKings, we were able to be a little profitable with the picks we were on. So we're looking to replicate that. So be sure to like Armchair Sports Talk on our Facebook page, and that's primarily where we put a lot of our information in regards to betting plays, daily fantasy plays. And with that, today we're going to focus on how can we do that again. So on DraftKings tiers, the games aren't as attractive as far as the tournaments. The payouts aren't as large, so I think you have a better chance. You don't have as many sharks, as they like to call them, the experts playing. So I like to play the 20 entry max. It was $4, so this was a $4 lineup that netted a $30,000 return, $30,000 prize for coming in first place. So I like that, actually. It's not a big investment for most people. So $80 a week, and you can do 20 lineups. So let me get into how I construct those lineups. On tier 1, I go through the 4 players available. And this upcoming week, we're going into a week 3 here. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Dak Prescott, and Tom Brady. Those are 4 elite plays. What I did last week was I eliminated 2 of the plays in tier 1, which made it really easy in doing my lineups. I just alternated between Alvin Kamara and Saquon Barkley, and we all know how bad Alvin Kamara played with Drew Brees going down, so he was not in that winning lineup. So it was Saquon Barkley in the tier 1. This week, nothing really jumps out at me. All 4 of these guys are very impressive. So I wouldn't really make any calls to start. I would just rotate the 4 guys up front and kind of see where I can eliminate from there. So I would go down to tier 2, and our players are Dalvin Cook, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Zeke Elliott. So Zeke Elliott's in a smash spot. They're supposed to beat the Dolphins by a little less than infinity. So they should be running the clock out, and nothing to worry about him getting his fair share, because if they're up by 3 or 4 scores and they put in Pollard, you have to figure they got there by Zeke getting 2 or 3 touchdowns. So I do like Ezekiel Elliott. Saquon Barkley is actually somebody who I think I might try to eliminate. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and make his color red, so that way I can eliminate him. The reason why I don't like Saquon Barkley that much, and we're going to have to force ourselves to take some stands. I like Saquon Barkley. I think he's a great player, a huge talent. He's going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We just saw on Thursday night what they can do to a running back in Christian McCaffrey. And if there is not a fair comparison to if there is a fair comparison to Saquon, it's Christian McCaffrey, and they were able to hold him to an abysmal performance. So I think the Buccaneers defense is focusing on stopping the run. And when you're playing the Giants, that's where the threat really lies. We're going to have an unknown in Daniel Jones. So we'll try to eliminate some of the players that we have to get exposure to, and Saquon Barkley will be one of those guys. Christian McCaffrey left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. pause on that for a second. He didn't play that well against the Bucks, like I said, but he's in a great spot. He's in a paced up matchup. That means that the Cardinals are looking to run as many plays as possible, and Christian McCaffrey scores a lot of fantasy points every time play is ran. So I know that his team has to be on offense for him to do that. But if this game ends up being a shootout, Christian McCaffrey should be a huge benefactor. So we're going to go ahead and leave him as one of the top options there. Dalvin Cook should have a pretty easy matchup of the Raiders. The Raiders are leaving the comfy confines of Oakland and going over to Minnesota, where they play very well at home, and they're looking to ground and pound. They aren't looking to throw the ball, especially with Kirk Cousins' poor performance and limited attempts. So they were only able to get Saquon Barkley out of the mix. Tier 3, Austin Eckler, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce. Man, it is getting a little difficult. So here's what I like to do on this one is if I have the ability to get a player in any tier really, and they are a complement to another player I have. So on this one, if I had Patrick Mahomes on tier 1 and I go down to tier 3, it would make sense to try to stack Travis Kelce with Patrick Mahomes. I don't have to worry about price point. I just know that if Patrick Mahomes throw a touchdown to Travis Kelce and I don't have Travis Kelce, I'm leaving points on the board. So here's where you want to kind of keep that in mind. So almost all of my Patrick Mahomes lineups will have Travis Kelce because that's how he's going to score his touchdown. So that's just one thing. I won't highlight it any color, but that's how my mind operates, so I won't forget. Austin Eckler, there isn't anything there yet where we can match him up in a game because he plays the Texans. So we're not able to put Eckler and Hopkins in the same lineup. And then Julio Jones plays the Colts. We're just going to have to get our rotations in there and see where we can make some money. Here we go, tier 4. Keenan Allen, I think he's a great play. He's been getting a lot of volume lately as the Chargers have gone through some injuries. Michael Thomas is someone who should get a lot of targets from Teddy Bridgewater, but this game's a paced down matchup. And what that means is I think with Teddy Bridgewater, the Saints are going to look to run the ball and try to run as few plays as possible, win this with their defense. They're going to have to get a little gadgety, which they don't mind doing. So some Taysom Hill out there really removes the upside of Michael Thomas. As we go over to Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is playing the Dolphins, and there's a good chance he draws Xavier Howard. I believe he's the most recent Dolphin asked for a trade, but he's also the most talented. So he shut down Josh Gordon, and the Patriots didn't even they were like, why are we going to even challenge him? We can go to anybody else on the field. So with Amari Cooper being in a tough matchup, I know that I said I like to stack players, but I think Dak Prescott can have a fine game, either dumping it off to Ezekiel Elliott or finding a Devin Smith, or I think that's his name, Devin Smith, Jason Witten, Randall Cobb, and with his legs. So I don't think we need to go to Amari Cooper, and a lot of times that's the time when Amari Cooper does go off. So I'm going to make this tier actually pretty simple. I'm going to go really heavy on Keenan Allen, and if I don't like Michael Thomas for the reasons I gave, I'm also off Alvin Kamara this week as far as tiers go. I'll run him in a couple lines as a run back option or stacked with Bridgewater maybe. But as far as this goes, it's not an attractive thought for me to have Michael Thomas or Alvin Kamara when I can have a wide receiver with a good relationship with their quarterback. I think Devontae Adams and Keenan Allen are going to represent tier 4 for me equally, 50-50. Tier 5 has Sammy Watkins. He had 13 targets last week, and he did not, unfortunately, get in the end zone. So anybody who rostered him might have a bad taste in their mouth again, and they'll probably get a little low ownership. So maybe factor that in as far as your third or fourth factor, but he makes a great stack option with Patrick Mahomes as well. Patrick Mahomes can throw for multiple touchdowns, so just because you stack Travis Kelce doesn't mean you can't stack Sammy Watkins. Le'Veon Bell, underdogs. We saw his upside with 11 catches or something like that against the Browns, but he wasn't able to find the end zone. They have him in the right tier, but I mean, that upside is just very limiting. Chris Godwin's been playing well with Jameis Winston, so I think I'll probably rotate Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. There's a podcast I was listening to talking about a matchup of Janoris Jenkins on the Giants, who's a decent corner, but I can't worry about every cornerback in the NFL because these wide receivers have the advantage being on offense. The defender has to be that much better. And I think Chris Godwin and Mike Evans are going to be matchup problems. So he can only cover one of them. Luckily, you could only roster one of them. So when we get down further, Actually, I'm looking right now. There isn't a Jameis Winston option. Yeah, that's unfortunate. But we'll have Chris Godwin and Mike Evans in there. And then Juju Smith-Schuster, we don't really know what Rudolph can do filling in for Big Ben, so I don't want to eliminate him unnecessarily. They should be playing from behind, and the Niners' defense has been playing well against the run game. So we go to Tier 6. Man, oh, man, am I excited about Kyler Murray. This Panthers defense doesn't scare me. Kyler went into Baltimore, and he actually put up some good numbers. They are running a lot of plays, so we're going to go ahead and make Kyler green. I'm going to go through here and try to eliminate some of the other players. Russell Wilson, he actually came through for me last week, but they're not looking to run the ball, so I'm going to go ahead and against the Saints, that's going to be a slow, painful game in my opinion. Deshaun Watson's not known. He is known to put up some points on the board, but he's also known to turn the ball over with as many sacks as he takes, so fumbles, interceptions. I'm not going to highlight him any color. He's going to be in play for me. Josh Allen's going to be in play for me. Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm not a big fan personally. I think we kind of rushed to judgment in his limited success with the Patriots. He's playing pretty good, but the matchups haven't been bad. I mean, like we said, the Bucs run defense has been good, but their pass defense hasn't. And then they went to Cincinnati, who we knew was just garbage from the get-go. So they're playing the Steelers. The Steelers are a more experienced team, well-coached team, in my opinion. They haven't been doing well against the wide receivers, but with the focus on stopping the ground game, which the Niners had good success with, man, I just don't have the faith that he's going to go do that same performance. So I'm taking a little bit of a risk here, to be honest. I'm going to put red on Garoppolo. I think a lot of people are going to see what he did against Cincinnati and hope he can do it again against Pittsburgh, but I just think that game's not going to be as high scoring. Kenny Galladay is in a prime spot against the Eagles. We saw what Julio Jones did. He was a big play for me on Yahoo. I said that last week, and he got us 2 touchdowns, and including that ending game winner. 2 touchdowns and 100 yards, and he was just a beast. So baby Megatron here, Kenny Galladay should be in a good spot. Let's go ahead and make Boyd here red because the Bengals draw a tough matchup with the Bills. I'm drawing a blank on his name, but the cornerback for the Bills is actually pretty good. So I think he's going to be on Tyler Boyd more so than John Ross. John Ross is the deep threat, the flash in the pan. Maybe he catches it, maybe he doesn't. So I think they're going to be taking a bigger risk if they don't put their best cover player on Tyler Boyd. If I like Kyler Murray, I like David Johnson, so we're going to leave him as an option. Aaron Jones got a lot of work against the Vikings, and he did really well. But they do sprinkle in Jamal Williams. He might make it, he might not. We'll have to just move on and get back to it. Antonio Brown, man, did they try to feed him the ball last week. So he's going to be in consideration for me for sure. Going to Tyler Lockett, I think I'll have him in some of my regular lineups. But if I'm not on Russell Wilson to have a big day, I don't think the very efficient Tyler Lockett should be in play for us. Adam Thielen against the Raiders, I don't see any reason why they're going to need to throw the ball that much. I'm not going to make him red, though. I'm just going to kind of maybe have him in one lineup only. M. Brown is not Malcolm Brown on the Rams. This is Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown on the Ravens. They're in a shootout type situation, and the Chiefs' pass defense is awful. I'm not a fan of him normally, but I'll leave him available. I like Josh Allen earlier. John Brown's a perfect stack for him. I love Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram should be treated like a wide receiver one playing the tight end position. I think with him being in consideration with other running backs and everything, he should be low owned. Big Evan Ingram fan for me. And I think, again, with the Bucs defense being focused on the run and Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram should have himself a field day, in my opinion. Marlon Mack's in a good spot going up against the Falcons defense. I'm a huge Falcons fan, but one thing I've noticed is we do tend to be vulnerable against running backs, and I think Marlon Mack's actually a pretty above-average talent that can have a nice day against us. Chris Carson, he got in a little trouble with the Seahawks coaching staff because Pete Carroll doesn't like running backs who fumble. He's the better running back. He's more talented. I think he'll get another chance, and like we said, this is what both teams are looking to do, the Seahawks and the Saints in that game. So the Seahawks being at home and favored against the backup quarterback, he should get some run out there. Johnson on the Lions, I want to like him. He should get more play, but he doesn't, unfortunately. Patricia likes modeling his game after Belichick, even though he doesn't do it as well. Burrito we're going to take out as well. We saw he was an effective piece of a 3-way timeshare, but I don't like 3-way timeshares. Sony Michel, he's going to be in contention as well. So as we go through here, and this is just my plays, like you don't have to eliminate the same players, but if you're making your 20 lineups and you don't have to factor in the same amount of people other do, one, you're going to be quicker and more efficient with it. Two, if you're right, you're really going to be right. And then unfortunately, if you're wrong, you're going to be out $80. But let's look at the upside on there. Yeah, it's maybe a 0.1% chance of winning $30,000. Well, let's not even make up statistics. You're putting yourself in a great spot if you are correct. So you spend all the time analyzing the game. You try to predict the game script. But when you predict everything correctly on a traditional bet, if you bet $5, you win $5. In this case, you could bet $4 and